He shocked the world with his size, mesmerized millions with his raw honesty, and left behind questions no one's been able to answer to this day. Rich Piana wasn't just muscles, he was impact, truth, and mystery. A life lived in extremes, a legacy that still sparks debate, and a death that continues to puzzle fans across the globe. What really happened? Where's the line in the pursuit of the perfect physique? Today, we're going way beyond the stage and the mirror. So grab your pre-workout and get ready to dive into a story that's bound to mess with your head. Because understanding Rich Piana is understanding just how far someone might go to be unforgettable. Ever heard of a bodybuilder who became a legend not just for his physique, but for his personality? That was Rich Piana, a name that blew up online and in gyms around the world. He wasn't just another jacked guy. He was someone who won people over with his no BS attitude. Zero filters, zero fear of judgment. His massive arms got your attention, but it was his boldness that made him unforgettable. People kept asking, how did this guy get so famous without winning major titles? The answer? Authenticity. Rich stood out because he was different. Instead of hiding his steroid use, he talked about it openly, something almost unheard of in the fitness world. While most athletes stay quiet to protect their natural image, Rich laid it all out there. And that hit home with a lot of people. I mean, who doesn't want to know what really goes on behind the scenes in bodybuilding? That's why his fans didn't follow him just for his size. They followed him for his honesty. He wasn't selling dreams. He was showing reality. His presence on social media was a whole other level. Millions tuned into his YouTube channel, where he talked about workouts, diet, his personal life, and the dangers of the sport too. He was a showman. He used his life as the stage and his journey as a warning. And that drew in fans and haters alike. But either way, nobody could ignore him. Before the fame, the massive arms, and the online persona, Rich Piana was just a curious kid growing up in California. Born in 1970, he lived in a modest home, but had a powerful influence close by, his mom. She was a bodybuilder herself, competing in local shows and training hard. It was by her side that Rich first got a taste of the bodybuilding world. While other kids were playing with toys, he was watching the weights and gym machines. That was the spark that would change everything. By age 6, he was already a regular at the gym, as a spectator. Picture a little kid fully immersed in a world of grit, discipline, and determination. The way his eyes lit up watching his mom train made it obvious this wasn't a phase. It was the beginning of a lifestyle. And over time, that passion only grew stronger. He looked up to old-school legends like Bill Canberra, someone he deeply admired. At 11, he couldn't take it anymore. He had to jump in. He grabbed a pair of weights for the first time and never let go. By 15, he was already stepping onto competition stages. He wasn't just some teen lifting for fun anymore. He wanted to show results, push boundaries, and chase greatness. And he meant business. Every workout was serious. Every rep had meaning. It's no wonder people noticed. Seeing that jacked high school kid on stage, most had no clue he was still in class. During his final year of high school, he moved in with his dad in La Crescenta. Even with a new routine, Rich never skipped a workout. That consistency paid off. At 18, he won his first major title, NPC Mr. Teen California. That was the turning point. It was like the world finally caught up to what he'd always known deep down. He was born for this. That one didn't just earn him recognition, it gave him confidence. It proved he was on the right path and could dream even bigger. While it takes most athletes years to snag their first trophy, Rich did it as a teenager. His childhood and teenage years make one thing clear. Success doesn't just happen. It comes from having purpose, real passion, and relentless effort. From a young age, Rich decided to stand out. He chose the hard road, the one of lifting, discipline, and pushing limits. And that beginning says a lot about the man he would become. After winning Mr. Teen California, Rich dove headfirst into the world of professional bodybuilding. His career lasted an impressive 25 years, something rare in such a physically demanding sport. Over those decades, he didn't just compete, he made an impact. In 1998, he hit a major milestone by winning the NPC Mr. California title. That was a defining moment. It proved he wasn't just full of potential, he was the real deal. Rich kept standing out, especially in the super heavyweight division. He never won the biggest stages like Mr. Olympia, but he racked up several titles in major shows like NPC Los Angeles, 2003, and NPC Sacramento, 2009. But beyond the trophies, what really turned heads was his freakish physique. The guy was a tank. People were blown away by his size and the insane vascularity. That look made him a magnet for the media. Major magazines like Iron Man and Muscle Sport featured him on their covers, not just for his appearance, but also for his life story. In those interviews, Rich didn't just talk about training and diet. He addressed his controversial choices head-on. He didn't hide. In fact, he wanted people to understand what it really took to build a body like his. That kind of honesty helped him become a name beyond the stage. But Rich didn't stop at bodybuilding. He went further. He used his image to branch out into other areas. He made small appearances on TV shows like Malcolm in the Middle, The Parkers, and even Scrubs. Every role was tied to his massive build. In one of them, he even played the Hulk. No lines, just presence. And that says it all. Rich knew how to use his body as a powerful tool for impact. Another standout moment was his role in the 2017 documentary Generation Iron 2. The film dove deep into modern bodybuilding, and Rich was one of the stars. His words were always blunt, sometimes harsh, but never empty. He shared real experiences, opened up about the sport's darker sides, and never sugarcoated the risks. That documentary brought him even closer to fans. People felt like they were hearing from someone real. And there's more. Back in 2001, he even worked as a stunt double in Planet of the Apes. He didn't have much screen time, but just being part of Hollywood production showed how noticeable and in demand he was. His physique couldn't be ignored. And maybe that's the point. Rich turned his body into a brand. He realized bodybuilding could open doors far beyond the gym. That broader vision is what kept him in the spotlight for so long. Even after stepping away from competitions, he stayed relevant. Whether it was in magazines, on screen, or online, Rich Piana never stopped turning heads. But despite all the strength and fame, Rich's personal life was full of ups and downs. He wasn't just intense in the gym. He was intense in his relationships too. He got married twice, and both marriages ended in drama. The first ended after he cheated, something he publicly admitted. That alone shows how turbulent things were emotionally. Being Rich Piana off-camera wasn't easy, and people close to him knew it. After that first divorce, Rich met Icelandic bodybuilder Sarah Heimisdottir. They got married in 2015, but the relationship was short-lived. Years later, he accused her of using him to get a green card and even stealing money from him. Things got so messy that the marriage was annulled based on fraud claims. After things ended with Sarah, Rich reconnected with Chanel Jansen, a fitness model he'd dated before. Chanel stayed by his side until the very end. She wasn't just a partner, she was a friend, a confidant, and according to her, someone who always tried to help him stay grounded. In interviews, she spoke openly about the love they shared and the hard times they went through together. That's where we see another side of Rich, the vulnerable, human side of a man searching for support. Chanel revealed that Rich was battling an addiction to opioids. Despite being the symbol of physical strength on the inside, he was fighting deep personal wars. She believed he was trying to get clean and turn his life around. Not many people knew about this, and it just shows how pain often hides behind a smile or a massive, shredded physique. How many times have you seen someone who looks strong on the outside, but is barely holding it together inside? His personal life was full of contradictions. He preached discipline, focus, and determination, but at the same time, he faced addiction and heartbreak. That didn't make him less inspiring, it made him more real. And maybe that's why so many people connected with him. Rich wasn't playing a character. He was a flawed human being with weaknesses, with mistakes, and with genuine efforts to grow. And that's something we can relate to, don't you think? On social media, he let fans see pieces of that personal life. Of course, he showed workouts, but also moments with Chanel, reflections on his past, and even advice for people going through tough times. He never tried to paint himself as perfect. In fact, he talked openly about his flaws. That kind of honesty built a real connection. People didn't just see a huge body. They saw a vulnerable heart, a soul working through the pain. Looking at the whole picture, it's clear Rich Piana's life was intense, complex, and often painful. But it was also full of love, second chances, and hard-earned lessons. He lived like every day could be his last, and maybe that's what made his story hit so hard. As time went on, Rich realized his influence had outgrown the stage. That's when he made a bold move, stepping away from bodybuilding competitions to focus on social media and business. That's how 5% Nutrition was born, his personal brand. But the name wasn't random. According to Rich, only 5% of people are truly willing to do whatever it takes to reach their goals. And he wanted to speak directly to that group. So, do you see yourself as part of the 5%? The brand was about way more than selling supplements. It was about building a movement, a lifestyle rooted in extreme discipline, full-on commitment, and a never-quit mindset. On YouTube, Rich explained this philosophy, pushing boundaries, taking risks, and chasing big dreams. He shared his daily grind, workouts, meals, mindset, and people from all over the world connected with it. His content came in many forms, but it always had that raw, straight-up tone. He talked about steroids, brutal diets, addiction, even relationships. No sugarcoating. It wasn't uncommon to see him on the couch, staring into the camera, saying, "If you want results, you've got to pay the price." And that honesty hit home. Let's be real. How many people are tired of fake promises and squeaky clean influencers? Rich was the exact opposite. On Instagram, he made waves too. With over 1.2 million followers, he posted motivational clips, behind-the-scenes looks at his brand, and day-to-day moments. He wasn't just an athlete. He was a human brand. He showed every side of himself, strong, vulnerable, driven, and sometimes full of doubts. That kind of transparency made followers feel like they were watching a friend, not some untouchable celebrity. His YouTube channel became a full-blown community. People from all corners of the world would comment, send messages, and share their own stories of struggle and triumph. Some said they started working out because of him. Others said his words helped them survive dark times. And as that following grew, so did 5% Nutrition. The supplement line, clothing, and gear started popping up in gyms and shops around the world. But more than just products, what people bought into was a mindset. Being 5% became an identity. A badge of strength, grit, and all-out commitment. Even those who never bought a single thing still knew what it stood for. It was about living with intensity, exactly like Rich did. Rich's decision to focus on social media and business proved just how visionary he was. He understood that modern bodybuilding wasn't just about the stage anymore. It was about your presence online, on people's phones and their minds. And he mastered that new reality like few others could. One of the most controversial parts of Rich's story was always his use of steroids. Unlike most athletes, he never tried to hide it. From a young age, he started doing cycles with testosterone and decadurabolin, two well-known substances in the bodybuilding world. What began as a one-time decision quickly became a regular habit. According to him, the results were so fast and dramatic that he got hooked. In his videos, Rich talked openly about the side effects he experienced. He mentioned hair loss, gynecomastia, which is the development of breast tissue in men, and signs of liver toxicity. But what stood out the most was his brutal honesty. He didn't sugarcoat anything. If anything, he went out of his way to make people understand the real and dangerous consequences. Even though he laid out the risks, Rich knew a lot of people were going to use steroids anyway. So instead of preaching, just saying no, he chose to educate. He gave advice about blood work, safer cycles, and why it was important to have medical supervision. His message was basically, if you're going to do it, at least do it as safely as possible. That approach split opinions, but it also helped a lot of people avoid serious mistakes from a lack of information. What do you think? Is it better to ban or to educate? One of the most shocking things Rich ever revealed was his use of human growth hormone, GH. He claimed to take up to 20 IU per day of a brand called Steroid. The cost? Around $8,000 a month. That's right, monthly. This shows just how extreme high-level athletes can get in pursuit of the perfect body. But where's the limit? Is the price of the dream body just too high? Rich also had harsh criticisms of the competitive scene. He said that pro bodybuilders didn't really have a choice. Without performance enhancers, they simply couldn't compete at the top. He put it bluntly, "If I didn't use, I'd be kicked off stage." That quote says a lot about how normalized steroid use is behind the scenes, and raises a tough question. Is the problem the athlete, or the system forcing them to adapt? Still, Rich was always clear about one thing. He was against young people using these substances too early. He especially warned teens and guys under 20, explaining how steroids could mess with their natural testosterone production and physical development. His message was basically, make your choice, but know exactly what you're getting into. And maybe that brutal honesty was his biggest strength. No filters, no half-truths. This chapter in Rich Piana's life is tough, but necessary. He shined a light on the darker side of bodybuilding, not to scare people, but to open their eyes. He showed that behind every massive physique, there could be hidden sacrifices, and that no one should make these decisions blindly. What seemed like just another normal day turned out to be the end of an intense journey. In August 2017, Rich Piana suddenly collapsed at home in Florida while getting a haircut from his girlfriend, Chanel Jansen. He hit the floor and stopped breathing. The moment was terrifying. Chanel tried to help, but because of Rich's massive size, she struggled to even move him. Paramedics were called immediately and managed to get Rich's heart beating again. But by then, the lack of oxygen had already caused serious brain damage. He was rushed to the hospital and placed in a medically induced coma to try to reduce brain swelling. The situation was critical. He spent nearly 3 weeks in the ICU, fighting for his life. During that time, thousands of fans flooded social media with prayers, support, and hope. It was a moment of collective anxiety. As police investigated, they found 20 vials of steroids in Rich's home. There was also a suspicious white powder on the table next to a credit card, raising concerns about a possible overdose. The medical team administered naloxone, a medication used to reverse opioid effects. Chanel later revealed that Rich had struggled with an addiction to painkillers in the past, but believed he was clean at the time. After days of silence, Chanel took to Instagram to update his fans. She said Rich was still alive, but asked for continued prayers. The fitness community rallied. Messages of love and encouragement poured in from all over. But on August 25, 2017, the news broke. Rich Piana had passed away at the age of 46. The reaction was immediate and massive. Websites, magazines, and YouTube channels all reported on the loss. A giant had fallen, and the bodybuilding world felt the shockwave. Rich Piana's death was tragic, but also deeply symbolic. It exposed the risks of extreme bodybuilding and the relentless pursuit of physical perfection. It showed that behind even the most powerful appearance, there can be vulnerability. Behind discipline, there can be pain. And sometimes, even heroes fall. His passing alone was enough to shake the fitness world, but what came next raised even more questions. When the official autopsy report was released, many expected clear answers about what caused his collapse and death. Instead, it left people frustrated. Why? Because the medical examiners didn't have access to the toxicology tests done during Rich's hospitalization. The hospital had discarded the necessary samples, even after formal requests for them to be preserved. That error, or negligence, made it impossible to fully investigate whether substances in Rich's system might have played a role in his death. Without those samples, the report came back inconclusive. The only concrete findings were that his organs were enlarged and there were signs of heart disease. No specific substance was confirmed, and that lit a firestorm of speculation. How could such a high-profile case be handled with so little care? The missing samples left the door wide open for theories. Some people began to suspect a cover-up. Did the hospital want to avoid a bigger scandal? Was there something even darker behind Rich Piana's death? These are questions that still divide opinions to this day. Chanel Jansen, his girlfriend, said she didn't believe recreational drugs were involved, though she admitted Rich sometimes used powdered pre-workouts in unconventional ways. But would that explain everything? Some believe that Rich's lifestyle itself was the real cause. Years of using steroids, hormones, and other substances might have led to a natural collapse. No foul play involved. After all, Rich openly admitted to using high doses of GH and testosterone for years. The human body has limits. But that raises a key question. Why not ensure a full, transparent investigation? Wouldn't that have been the best way to silence rumors and respect his legacy? The autopsy also confirmed there was no recent physical trauma, ruling out violence or domestic accidents. That cleared up some theories, but didn't bring clarity to the bigger picture. The truth is, without the toxicology reports, a big part of the story is simply lost. What do you think? Was it negligence? Or was just a tragic coincidence? To this day, fans still debate these questions, and videos about the topic have racked up millions of views. All these controversies ended up fueling Rich Piana's almost mythical image. He became the subject of debates, documentaries, and endless online theories. His name pops up in discussions about health, sports, and even internet culture. Even after his death, he remains a polarizing figure. And maybe that says a lot about the impact he had. Regular people don't spark theories. Legends do. And for many, that's exactly what Rich became, a legend with an unfinished story. So, what can we take from all this? Maybe the biggest lesson is the value of truth, both in life and after death. Whether it's about the risks of extreme bodybuilding or the importance of serious investigations, Rich showed us that hiding the facts only delays collective growth. His life was a showcase of what the human body can achieve. Rich Piana wasn't just another bodybuilder with huge muscles. He was someone who left a mark for something rare, the courage to be transparent. In a world where many athletes hide behind filters and silence, Rich laid his entire story bare, flaws and all. And maybe that's why so many people saw themselves in him. More than just a body, Rich taught us about choices, consequences, and authenticity. Whether you agreed with him or not, he was always unapologetically himself. His legacy goes far beyond aesthetics. He showed that bodybuilding isn't just about stepping on stage and chasing trophies. It's about mindset, discipline, and yes, pain. It's also about knowing how far is too far. A lot of young people looked up to him, but also saw him as a cautionary tale. Because chasing the perfect body has a cost, and sometimes that cost is too high. Rich used his own story as an example, and that alone is powerful. With his brand 5% Nutrition, he built a global community. People around the world started to see bodybuilding differently. He talked about steroids, sure, but also about purpose, resilience, and truth. He didn't sell dreams, he delivered reality. And that didn't make him weak, it made him stronger. He showed that even giants carry weight, and that made him human. Rich also taught us to pay attention to the signs, not just from our bodies, but from our souls. He lived with intensity, but maybe ignored warnings that could have changed his path. His death forces us to reflect. Are we taking care of what truly matters? Or just chasing goals without checking in with ourselves? Real strength starts with balance. If you made it this far, take a deep breath. Let this story sink in. Are you pushing too hard for something that might end up costing everything? Or maybe you've been holding back on your dreams out of fear. Rich left us a message of courage, but also one of responsibility. It's up to each of us to decide what we'll do with it. Now I want to hear from you. What stuck with you the most from Rich Piana's story? Do you think he was a hero, a warning, or maybe both? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to talk about it. And if this video touched you in any way, hit that like button. It really helps the channel keep bringing you honest, meaningful content like this. Also, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and if you can, become a member. It seriously strengthens our work. And hey, don't leave just yet. There's a special video waiting for you in the card above. Click it and keep riding with us on this journey. Thanks for watching till the end. Big hug, and see you in the next video.